Good morning, everyone. My name is Dennis Weiner, and I am the chair of the Young Professionals Network. We appreciate everyone's flexibility during this time of social distancing, and you're joining us virtually. We have a great program today where Lindsey will be discussing career and personal life. As a father of three whose day job now consists of parenting, teaching, and being an employee, I'm very much looking forward to hearing from Lindsey. Our YPN network is continuously growing. So if we have the opportunity to meet, I look forward to connecting with each of you virtually or in person in the near future. We hope that by the end of today, you have gained valuable takeaways. I hope you will be joining us at our other upcoming virtual events we have planned. I also look forward to seeing you at other YPN events in person once we're able to do so safely. Today, we will learn how we can all work to ensure that our personal and professional lives align, a topic that is very timely as we adjust, excuse me, a topic that's very timely as we adjust to how our companies are responding to our current situation. If you have any questions during today's program, please submit them using the question feature on the toolbar located on the right of your screen at the end of this morning's program. We will have time to dive into these questions with the goal to get through as many as possible. Stay up to date on all and check out our email update media channels. Follow our social media pages, and during today's event, you can share memorable quotes and what you've learned just by tagging us. We are on the following platforms. On Facebook, we're Raleigh YPN. LinkedIn, we're Raleigh YPN. Instagram, Raleigh YPN. Twitter, Raleigh Chamber with the hashtag Raleigh YPN. Join our conversation during today's on Twitter by using that hashtag Raleigh YPN. Even though we're not physically together, let's stay connected. At this point, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Green Resources and UNC Keenan Flagler Executive MBA programs. Thank you to our sponsors. We appreciate all that you do to make YPN possible. So without further ado, it is my pleasure this morning to introduce this morning's speaker, Lindsey Boggs. Lindsey is a sales leader who has experience with all types of companies from startups to Fortune 500 companies. Lindsey's career in sales started at Bronto Software, an Oracle company, where she quickly rose to the top, making President's Club the first year and became a social selling pioneer. Lindsey used LinkedIn to prospect became Lindsey's gold mine and secret sauce. Her strategies and tactics were picked up across the country, where she was able to grow her personal brand on LinkedIn and ultimately got LinkedIn's attention. In 2015, Lindsey wrote an article that went viral on LinkedIn, and she was awarded the highest social selling score in the world and shared it with Shaquille O'Neal, accepting her award in Las Vegas. After LinkedIn fame, Lindsey started her own consulting business where she taught companies from all over the world how to build their personal brands, how to prospect using LinkedIn, and how to grow their personal brand. But in 2016, Lindsey's world fell apart when her sister died unexpectedly of a brain aneurysm. A therapy assignment to talk about her perfect life collapsing, and the article From a Ritz to a Patio received more than 1 million views and ultimately led to her TEDx talk in 2000 in Raleigh. Since then, Lindsey has joined companies in enterprise sales, but now holds a leadership position at Citrix, where she teaches sales professionals how to and teaches both sales and other departments how to build their personal brands on LinkedIn. She also co-founded a nonprofit on mental health called UNCCrushed.org, where she helps tell people stories and helps break the stigma of mental health, especially surrounding the workforce. Lindsey, it's great to see you this morning. I appreciate us. And at this point, I'm going to turn the program over to you.
All right, thank you so much. I am going to share my screen. All right. Everyone see this okay? Dennis, you can see this?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. All right. So thank you so much for having me. First of all, thank you for everyone that has put this together, Matt, Dennis, Nicole, everyone that I've worked with. Really excited to be here, and thank you for having me. So I'm talking about something today that's really personal. It's something that is tough to talk about sometimes. It's emotional as well, but it's something that is really near and dear to my heart because it's something that a lot of people don't talk about, and it's something that needs to be brought to light, especially during Mental Health Awareness Month. And so what I'm going to do today is talk about my story, and I'm going to take you on a journey today, and I'm going to walk you through a story that does have a positive ending, but it's going to kind of walk you through a jumbled story. So bear with me here. So I'm going to walk you through a little bit, starting with my childhood. I had a beautiful childhood, totally normal childhood. I had an older sister named Melissa. She was 6 years older than me, and she was opposite in every single way. She was always getting into trouble. She was always pushing the limits. She stayed out past her curfew. She always was breaking the rules, and she was always just not following my parents' directions from beginning to end. She was opposite in every single way. I am totally recessive in all of my genes. She is totally dominant. It's just funny how, and she was born in Long Beach, California. I was born in Long Island, New York. We are totally opposite. So, but we became really, really, really close when I went to college because, you know, when you're living in the same house, being 6 years apart, I kind of got into her stuff. You know, I was kind of annoying. I was always into her stuff. And so we didn't really become close until I went away to college. But we did get really close when I went away to college. When I did go to college, though, I didn't know where I wanted to go. I had three options, though. The three options that I wanted to go to were either going to be Indiana University, or I was going to go to University of Southern California in California, or I was going to go to Florida State University. And the reason why is because I was going to major in opera. And I had always done music my entire life. I was coached from a very early age to do music. I, from an early age, was put on talent shows, and I was consistently performing really well in music. And I had a knack for singing and performing. And so it was natural for me when I got time to go to college to do music. But ultimately, my mom doesn't fly and still doesn't. And so I knew if I went to California, I would never see her. And I knew Indiana was too cold. So I chose Florida State University. And it was there that I decided to get my degree. And I had a lot of fun. Let's just say that. And so I got my music degree, and this was going to be my path. I was going to be an opera singer. I don't know if anyone knows who this is. This is Renee Fleming. But when you go to college, sometimes you get distracted. Let's just say that. And I did get distracted by one person named Michael Boggs, who I ended up marrying. And I should have studied more in college. I did do really well. I mean, I got great grades and everything, but I was supposed to go get a master's degree after college. You're supposed to, in music, get your master's degree, then your doctorate degree, and then you're supposed to wait for your voice to mature to you're 35 or 36 years old, and then you're supposed to be a world famous opera singer and travel the world and yada, yada, yada. But I decided after my undergrad to follow Michael Boggs to Dallas. And for him to get his master's degree in music because he was going to do the route that I did not take. And he got his master's degree in French horn performance, which is a whole separate slide deck and a whole separate day of presentations. So when I graduated, I had to decide to get a job, and I networked on LinkedIn and found a job as an executive assistant to the VP of real estate at FedEx office, Kinko's, their corporate office. And listen, it had enough for me to get health insurance, car insurance, student loans, and most of all, it paid enough for me to have craft beer. That's all I cared about. So while in Texas, a couple things happened. I got married, and we had a 5-year plan of having children, and Natalie was born 9 months later. So funny how things happen. But after Natalie was born, we waited, about a year or so, but we noticed that, when our kids are born, we really wanted to be with family, and we were far away from family. And so we had a longing to go back to Raleigh because we really wanted to be with family. So we moved back to Raleigh. And then I really thought about, I didn't really want to be an executive assistant for that much longer. And so I did want to try out something different. And so what I decided to do is network with some people. And so my mom set me up with some of her friends. And I went to a dinner that ultimately changed my life. And I don't know if you've ever gone to a place where you have met somebody or gone somewhere that ultimately has changed your life. And it was a dinner that changed my life. And I met these women that just had their lives put together in such a way that I just said, that's interesting. You seem to have everything put together. You have everything figured out. And I asked them, I said, what do you guys do for a living? And the woman, Mandy, said, well, I'm in sales. And I said, sales? And I said, sales? And that's what I immediately think of. I think sales, like this kind of sales, like that kind of sales. And she said, no, software sales. And I said, what's software sales? And so ultimately she ended up saying, listen, I get recruited all the time from companies. Let me get you introduced to some companies that I turn down all the time, and I can coach you on some interviews, and we can get you a job in sales. And I said, okay, because I always thought sales was a derogatory thing, and I always thought sales as to what I'm showing you on the screen. And I didn't want to do that kind of sales because I'm used to that kind of sales that you see on the screen. So long story short, I'm giving you this background information because it helps you paint the picture of what I'm about to share with you. So ultimately, I did get my first position in sales, and I worked there at Bronto for 1.5 years. I got a taste for sales, and I liked it, but I had no friends. And the reason why is because I was older. These positions for these SDR roles essentially were right out of college, and I had a target on my back, to be honest. I was older, I had a family, and they had this thing called President's Club where you get this trip that's fully paid for with you and your spouse. And mommy needed a vacation. Let me just say that. I didn't make a lot of money at the time, and I definitely wanted a free vacation, and so I was hustling. But I'll say now I have lifelong friends that I've made from Bronto. So let me share with you what week 1 looked like. Week 1 looked like this. And the reason why I knew I was going to do well in sales is because I saw my name in red the first week, and I did not like that. I saw my name at like 1 meeting booked for the week in red, and I was like, that's not going to work for me. So I knew sales was for me because I'm very driven by numbers and very driven by a leaderboard. It turns out I didn't know that until I started. So, but the first week I was really feeling alone. I was having some doubt because I was like, I didn't have a lot of I didn't feel like I was going to have a lot of friends. I was feeling very lonely. But then I discovered something. I discovered that if I was using LinkedIn to prospect and find meetings and find people and find relationships through booking meetings, I was having success and others were not. So the others were using Salesforce to find meetings, and they were using cold calling through, not having relationships and just straight up cold calling with no relationships backing them. I was using LinkedIn to find relationships and mutual connections and introductions. And boom, week 2 looks like this. That felt good. And then I was like, I like this. And then immediately I was like, I am destined for sales, but it came with a price. And the price looked like this, everybody. The price was addiction to LinkedIn and addiction to live chat. What I mean by live chat is that we had the opportunity every day to go onto live chat, and we could be on live chat at 8 o'clock at night and talk to people in Australia. So I would log in after I got home from work, and I would talk to people in Australia and book meetings. Or I would live chat at 11 o'clock at night and book meetings in another country. I was addicted, and I was feeding my obsession with work. It looked like responding in real time. I slept with my phone. I could not truly connect. I was addicted to my phone and email. And then my 50-hour work weeks would begin. So it was pretty obsessive. But then I made President's Club, and that was truly a rewarding experience. But, at what cost? I was working a ton of hours, so it was give and take. Now, next up, I did get recruited to another company, but then it came with a price. I was working 60 hours a week. I started having to travel. I did work from home. The stress at home became a lot, but I did learn a lot. And then 2015 is really when things started to get really intense. I was awarded the #1 SSI score, Social Selling Index score in the world with LinkedIn. And so that came with my Shaquille O'Neal event in Las Vegas. And so that's when I did my free throws with Shaquille O'Neal, which was really exciting. And I usually show the clip, but you can go on YouTube and click the clip anytime you want and watch me get the free throws in. It was really exciting. And but it came with a price, and the price was that, there was a lot of attention, and it felt really good at the time. But at the same time, this thing crept in called imposter syndrome. And I don't know if anyone's familiar with imposter syndrome, but imposter syndrome essentially makes you doubt what you have deemed as success. And so you really start worrying about your success, thinking that it's fraudulent. And so I was really worried that what I had just accomplished was fraud. And so you really start to second guess yourself and thinking, okay, is what I put out there actually real? Or did I make that up? Or did I copy somebody? Or was that actually me? Bullying started happening on LinkedIn. Bullying started happening in private messaging. People would start messaging me saying that I was fat, I could lose weight. People started saying things like, I would like to date you. I'm married. Hi. People would start, just saying random things like that. And then I had a lot of self-doubt. Then the spiral began to happen. Right when things couldn't get worse, it really did get worse. Right at the peak of that, I decided, well, I'm going to start my own company, because why not? So I decided, let's start my own company. So I started my own company, and I decided, let's work 80 hours a week. Why not? I worked from home, but I essentially lived at the Delta Sky Club. My family life was literally non-existent. I hardly knew my son and daughter, but I did have fun. I mean, I have to find the silver lining in some things. I did have a lot of fun, but when I look back at those years, I barely remember anything about my family, and it's honestly very emotional to talk about. These pictures you see, I look really happy. I am actually very, very depressed in these photos. It's actually really hard to talk about right now. The picture on the top left is a picture of all the medication that I was taking. Some of it I shouldn't have been taking. I was addicted to prescription medication. I could not sleep at night. I was so addicted to the adrenaline of sales and the adrenaline of closing business that I could not sleep. So I had to self-medicate on prescription drugs, that I was addicted to them. I had an addiction to social media. I was real life posting my life away every single day. And I had this desire and obsession, excuse me, to outperform what I did yesterday. So I had to outdo yesterday's story on Instagram and Snapchat and everything. So I had to be funnier than yesterday. I had to be more outlandish than yesterday. And Facebook was really fake book. I mean, it really was. I had the car and I had the house and I had the beautiful family and I had all those wonderful things, but in reality, I was really struggling inside. I became a social selling pioneer to the outside world, but in reality, I was really falling apart. And I became the queen of social selling on LinkedIn. But these photos, I look so happy and so it's really hard to talk about. I'm sorry. These photos are really hard to look at. So, because they're all fake. They're all not authentic at all. The mimosa time photo, I drank too much back then. I've never really said that out loud, but I did. I had mimosas on every flight pretty much, so it was not good. So in essence, my mental and physical health were suffering tremendously. Right around that time, I decided, being an entrepreneur, working for myself is probably not the best option for me right now. So let me go back into the field and work for a company, and let's not do the working for myself anymore, because my personal life was suffering, my mental health was suffering, and my marriage was suffering. So I went and worked for a company called Medallia, and I could still work from home. They were really great with this growth mindset. They were really great. They had a really great culture. It was high stress but high reward, and the travel was only when needed, but it ended up being a lot because I book a lot of business because I book a lot of meetings. So, but the outlook was really positive. And remember that woman, Mandy, that introduced me to sales? I actually ended up getting to work with her. So it ended up coming up full circle. It was really great. I got to work with her. But I started that position in September. And unfortunately, on September 29th, I got a call. I was in Dallas, Texas, and I got a call that my sister Melissa had collapsed in DC and that she had died from a brain aneurysm. So only 3 weeks into my tenure at Medallia, my sister died. And so it was incredibly hard. And the only thing I knew to do was work. I was immersed in work. She was an organ donor and she was a nurse, and so we wanted to respect her wishes and donate her organs. And so I remember pulling out my laptop, and this sounds so weird saying it out loud, but sitting by her lifeless body, I would begin to work next to her bed and work on my PowerPoint presentations and listening to Pink Floyd next to her bed because that was her favorite artist. And it was horrible, but that's the only thing I knew how to do. So after she passed, I was very unwell. I went back to work too early. I immersed myself in work even more. I worked more hours than ever. And I was at an event in December of that year, and I went to the 22nd floor of the hotel building. And you know those Marriott pads of paper next to the beds of all of the beds in the room? I ended up taking the Marriott pen and writing my kids, who were really young at the time, I wrote them letters and my husband a letter. And I went to the balcony and I called my husband and told him I was going to jump. And luckily he got there in time, but it was not good. So this next slide is really hard to look at, so I'm going to be brief. So this is me checking into the mental hospital on the left, and then checking out. So I was there for a week. They handcuffed me. They took my brush. They took my hoodie. They took my hair tie. They took my cell phone. The toilets were stainless steel. The cold water was there. They only had cold showers. The roommate I was with tried to kill me with a CD that they found in the CD player. They cut the CD in the middle of the night, and it was sharp. My husband visiting me said I looked like something he'd never seen before. I knew I needed to get help, and so medicine and therapy is where I turned. So how I powered through 2016. This is what I want to get to and how I overcame this. So there are a lot of different ways I powered through it. This is the light at the end of the tunnel, because there is hope, and I got through it. And if I can get through it, anyone can get through it. And there's a lot of positivity that came from what I went through. And what I want to say is that you don't have to get to a mental hospital state to get help. Unfortunately, I wish I'd gotten help before I got to the mental hospital state, but I didn't know the resources that I had available to me, and I wish I had. So the things I've done since 2016 and the things that I wish I had known to do beforehand is setting boundaries at work. That's the first thing that I've done and should have done first. The next thing that I've done is I've made my own personal board of directors. So I have 4 people in my life that are my personal board of directors. Just like a company has a board of directors, a nonprofit has a board of directors, I have my own personal board of directors. So I know that if I'm having a challenge with grief, I call Katie. And if I'm having a problem at work, I call Suresh. I know if I need some spiritual guidance, I call Kelly. And if I know I'm just a hot mess that day, I call Darlene. Those are my 4 board of directors. Medicine. I would like to take a moment to talk about medicine. Medicine is put on earth for people like me. And that took me a long time to say that, because so many people have a stigma against medicine. And I was one of those people. I was one of those people that said, I don't need medicine. I'm fine. I don't need medicine. I can get through it. I don't want to be addicted to medicine. I don't want to take medicine. I don't need it. I did need medicine. Medicine saved my life. And medicine saves my life every day, people. I take medicine every day, and it's okay. It's okay to take medicine. It was made for people like me. And therapy. What I'll say about this is that not all therapists are created equal. I was with a therapist the first year of seeing a therapist that was not right for me. I wish I had known sooner to see somebody else. So if you get teamed up with a therapist, and after 3 or 4 sessions, you say, I don't think we're the right fit, don't feel bad. Just know that you are able to go see somebody else. Don't worry about hurting their feelings. It's a business profession. Don't worry about hurting their feelings. I was too worried about hurting their feelings that I didn't go see somebody else. So please just know that not all therapists are created equal. So setting boundaries at work, what does that look like? Number 1, take email off your phone if possible. That's been huge for me. I don't have email on my phone. It has been such a huge relief and huge burden off of my life. Block off your lunch every day. Take self-care. So do mindfulness, like meditation. There's a meditation app called Headspace that I use. Even 10 minutes or 5 minutes, anything, just to not think about work. Make sure you eat. I know this is silly, but working from home, like, I forget to eat sometimes. You've got to eat. Yoga, therapy, think about you. Identify your limits and practice saying no. I have to say no sometimes because I can't do it all. Seek help if you need it. So a lot of your organizations out there have an EAP program, employee assistance program. Use it. They're great. They're great programs out there. So check out what your HR program has and absolutely take advantage of it. Delegate. Oh, that is something that I learned way too late in my career. I wish I learned delegation sooner. Delegate. If you can't do it all, delegate. Delegate. Create a structure. So I color code all of my calendars at work, and it really helps set, what's a priority at work. So I know, okay, yellow is not as important as green on my calendar. So I know that I don't have to spend as much time on yellow as I do green. And here's a really big tip. It's just a job. At the end of the day, nobody is saving lives. It's just a job. Unless you're a doctor. If you're on the call and you're a doctor, you're saving lives. But you know what I mean? Like in perspective, I'm selling software. It's just a job. So that's what I try to tell my team every day. It's just a job. And when I was sitting next to my sister's lifeless body, it was perspective for me that she is dying. She is going to die. And there's nothing I can do about it. So for me, I look at my job as it's just a job. And that's helped me tremendously. So here are my personal board of directors, and I highly recommend everyone get their own personal board of directors and let them know, hi, I want to let you know that you've been nominated to be one of my personal board of directors. Congratulations. And let them know who they are. So these are my 4 personal board of directors. And then for therapy, this was my therapy assignment that I wrote this article. It went viral on LinkedIn. It led me to a TEDx talk. And it could have led me to relapse, honestly, because it got so many views. It could have taken the path that it did in 2015 for me, but it didn't. Led me to the TEDx stage. So writing fundamentally changed my life. But ultimately, there's balance. I'd be a liar if I had it all figured out, by the way. I don't. I wrote articles about figuring out digital detoxes. I don't digital detox all the time, but I have written about digital detoxes. I do them often, but I don't do them every day. So if you text me at 6 o'clock, sometimes I will respond, but my digital detox says that I detox from 6 to 8 most nights. Sometimes I do, but I don't do it every single night. So I don't have it all figured out. I'm not perfect, but I do try my best to digital detox as much as I can. So where am I now? And then we're about to do Q&A, and I'm happy to answer any questions. So where am I now? Now I am a sales leader at Citrix. I've created very healthy boundaries for myself. I have accountability buddies that make sure I eat lunch. I know that sounds really crazy, but I sometimes work through lunch and I forget to eat because I get so busy. And he makes sure I eat lunch. So there's that. I don't have the Sunday scaries anymore. There's a company I worked for in the past that I would have the Sunday scaries, and I would get so worried about Monday that Sunday would be the Sunday scaries. I don't have that anymore. I work at a great organization. I meditate every day. This is my meditation room that I'm in right now. I meditate every day. It's been really grounding for me. And I want to take the fear out of meditation. I think a lot of people think that meditation is a spiritual thing that you have to connect with, like a God. You don't. You meditate to just meditate and get your thoughts clear. So there's nothing that you have to, connect to a God. You just meditate to get your thoughts clear. And you can do it for 5 to 10 minutes. It doesn't have to be an hour event. And Headspace has apps. It has an app that you can meditate just for 5 minutes. I do CBT therapy with my therapist. I see her weekly. I also see a psychiatrist monthly who prescribes me medicine because I need it. I digital detox often, and I do yoga regularly. Finally, I co-founded a nonprofit called Uncrushed that helps break the stigma of mental health. It's really profound how much mental health is still taboo, even in the society we live in today. And some of the stats that you might find shocking is that 67% of people think that they are about to burn out. 7 out of 10 people say that their stress level is high. 74% of people feel that they are on call all the time to respond to people at work. 60% of people say that they would be viewed negatively to take time off to deal with mental health and burnout. And then 57% agree that their workload is in excess. So, and then the last thing I did is in December, I went to a retreat in Boone, North Carolina called the Happiness Retreat in the Art of Living. And I learned that the past is often filled with regret, remorse, and guilt, and the what if. I learned that in the future tense, it's filled with anxiety, worry, and your mind is in circles and a waste of time. But the present, if you live in the present tense, you can just enjoy your breath and be in content and enjoy what you have. And so what I've tried to work on is living in the present tense. So I've really enjoyed that retreat. And right now, I do believe that they are offering online version of the Happiness Retreat. So you can check it out if you go to theartofliving.com. They have a version of the online retreat. And then Headspace, again, they have great apps. They have a great app. So you can look at sleeping apps, or you can look at anything like that. This is what the app looks like. So I'm going to look at the questions I have right now. Here's my LinkedIn. Feel free to add me. And I'm going to look at the questions that I have here. And then, Dennis, do you want to hop back on? Okay, so I have a question here. In your opinion, how can managers and organizations help their teammates from burning out? So definitely great question. So I think the biggest thing to help your teammates from burning out is to do check-ins outside of just, how is your workload going? I like to do my one-on-ones and, ask them, how are you doing? And ask them twice. So what I mean by that is you get on the phone with one of your direct reports and you ask them, hey, Molly, how's it going today? And they say, fine. And then you circle back and say, no, Molly, how are you really doing? And then they open up. So asking them twice really helps, I have found. Then they open up the second time, and then they really get to the root of how they are really doing. So asking them twice helps a lot. And then for avoiding burnout, right now, particularly working from home, we have noticed a huge spike just in general in sales particularly. And I have friends across my friend unit that are working way too much. Like they just can't stop working at 5 because we're glued to working, right? Because of, working from home, you never stop. So setting boundaries, getting them to set boundaries. So if you have teammates on your team, making sure that they schedule, maybe look at their calendar and say, okay, when are you taking that 30-minute walk today? Or when are you going to take that, 15-minute break? You should schedule 3 15-minute breaks every day and get them to schedule their 15-minute breaks on their calendar so they don't work during those 15-minute breaks. That could be another option too. And make sure they stop working at a decent hour.
Great. Well,
okay.
Lindsey, I see that you've already jumped into Q&A, so thank you for jumping into that. I was going to come in and make a note for anyone that's watching. If you have not yet submitted a question in the Q&A portion, there's a question tab over to the right-hand side of your screen, so please feel free to submit those. For those watching, my name is Matt Douglas, and I manage the Young Professionals Network for the Raleigh Chamber. I'm glad to have the opportunity to join you all this morning, and Lindsey, that was awesome, so I really appreciate you coming and sharing that. I mean, to be in a vulnerable spot and then to also like present it to a computer screen. I remember when we had scheduled this program, it was supposed to be in person. So, it was really cool to see that even not being face to face, it still was a great message to hear. So thank you.
You're welcome.
So we're going to move into the question and answer portion of today's program. So we've gotten a couple of questions, so I'm going to highlight those. And then Lindsey, if there's anything else you'd like to add, please feel free. So one question that we have is, how do you handle an environment where management and leadership interpret your boundaries as not doing your job?
You educate them. You educate them on boundaries. So you talk to them about the importance of your mental health, and you educate them the importance of mental health on the whole, and you tell them, I need to set boundaries at work because it's impacting my personal life, it's impacting my family life, and I need to make sure that I am getting the support I need at work. And in order to do that, I would like to set these boundaries. And this is what the boundaries look like. How do you feel about the boundaries that I've set forth? And then just get their opinion. That's what I would do.
Thank you. Another question that we have, it says, I know that my husband is burning out at work. How can I help him to step back without compromising his job or making him feel like he's not doing things right?
Let's say, I know my husband's burning out at work. I would really talk to him. I would talk to your husband about asking him if there are certain things that he can take off his plate and delegate. Delegate is huge. Are there certain things that he could potentially put on the back burner and have somebody else delegate for him? Or are there tier 1, 2, and 3 projects that he can make, tier 1, a tier 3 project, and try to get him to prioritize differently? And then also talk to his manager, have him talk to his manager and just say, hey, I'm on the verge of a break. See how good his relationship is with his manager, and see if he can have a crucial conversation with his manager and just say, hey, I don't want to burn out, but I'm getting to that point. It depends on how good he is, how good his relationship is with his manager. Hopefully it's a really good one. And have that crucial conversation, because I know those crucial conversations are so important. If you can have one, you've got to just say, I'm on the verge of a burnout and I don't want to get there, but I'm close to it. How can I get these projects off my plate? Can we move the due date out, or can I delegate, or can we have somebody else on this project? And just have that crucial conversation.
Awesome. I feel like this question, you might have a similar answer, but just want to ask it in case there's anything else you'd like to add. It says, how do you handle a work environment where your job expects you to work 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the least? And if you leave at 5 p.m., it doesn't look well. Or if you take vacation, it also doesn't look good.
Yeah, I laugh because I've had an environment like that before, and sometimes you just have to go like this and just listen. I have a family, and my family comes first, and at the end of the day, it's like I have to leave at 5 because I have a family, and sometimes that's just how it is, and I would just have to say, you know, that's just how it has to be. And if they have to look down upon that, then sometimes that's just how it is. But family comes first. And that slide I have that says it's just a job, take a screenshot of that. It's just a job. You know what I mean? If they look down upon it, I mean, that's unfortunate, but maybe maybe just having a crucial conversation with them and just saying like, hey, this is how my schedule goes, and if it's due to family, if it's due to whatever the situation is, you know, just have that crucial conversation that this is how it has to be, and, you know, I wouldn't even apologize. Like, this is just my situation, and I have to leave at 5.
Yeah, absolutely. This is one that I think we can all relate to. It says, I work in a job that is seasonally stressful. This person is a tax accountant. Do you have any recommendations as to how to balance life during our heavy workload times? So for this person specifically, tax season.
That's a good one. Goodness. I mean, yeah, I mean, I can relate that to myself with our quarters and sales. You know, we have end of quarter is always more stressful than beginning of quarter. I would say that what I typically do for end of quarter is that we spend more of our time like heavy loading some stuff in the beginning of the quarter, but I know for you it's probably different, that you can't quite do that as much. But I would say try to still work on, you know, having breaks in your day, so you're not so burnt out and you don't do like 6-hour sprints in your day, and you have breaks. Because if you do, I mean, like yesterday was a horrible day for me. I worked a really long day and I didn't take any breaks, and it takes a toll on you. So you've got to take breaks or you will mentally just burn out. And so you've got to take those breaks. That's not a great answer, but I would say just make sure you schedule your breaks or you will get burnt out more. I don't know if you can delegate more, delegate early and delegate often.
That's great. It was funny because during the program today, my boss and I were actually texting, and she was like, we should implement the break rule to where put it on your calendar, and then we know that's when it's the time not to schedule. So great advice. One other one that we got, it says, how do you handle it if your manager thinks it's entirely your responsibility to manage your burnout without their help?
I think it goes back to education. I think it goes back to educating them on what burnout is and how it directly impacts their organization by you burning out. So telling them and educating them, hey, I'm on the verge of a burnout, and these are the steps I'm doing to make sure I do not burn out. I want to let you know what I'm doing to ensure that I don't burn out, and I just want to let you know what I'm doing. So then they can say, okay, you know, and let them know what you're doing to not burn out. And if what you're doing to not burn out is working less hours or, you know, taking a longer lunch, let's face it, if we have people on the call that have children and you're homeschooling and you're working, you need more time away from work. Let's just be honest, right? Like, you can't do it all. So, you know, I think having that crucial conversation with people that are managers is a good time to have it. And I think that there has to be some sort of wiggle room on your schedule. So taking more 15-minute breaks, taking a longer lunch, or taking an afternoon stroll with your kid around the block, for 30 minutes or something, I don't think that's asking for the sky and the moon and the stars.
You spoke to our current situation with, children being home if they're not in school. So this is another question that is specific to the time that we're in right now. It says, I learned to use the gym as my mental release. With the current unprecedented times, gyms are closed. How do you recommend we deal with this?
I mean, there's always, I've been going outside a lot. We have a great subdivision, so I use the outside. I use my meditation room with my yoga mat. There are a lot of online subscriptions that are like $9 a month for some online workouts. So you can use online subscriptions that are pretty cheap. So you can do that. You can create your own. You can be creative. You can use your garage. Or you can, I don't know how you feel, if you have any neighbors that you can social distance with and do some like group workouts or something like that, or a spouse or a friend that you're close with that you can social distance with. Those are some options, but yeah, those are some ideas.
Awesome. This question is talking about finding new employment. It says, how would you suggest engaging the work-life balance in an opportunity while you are searching for a new job?
Can you elaborate? How do you read that, Matt?
So when I read that, my interpretation would be, so if you're looking for a new job, what question should you ask the company as to, this is what I'm looking for out of work-life balance? So those would be my initial thoughts, as these are things that are important to me. But is there anything else specifically that you would add to that?
Oh, okay, yeah. I would ask them, tell me about a day in the life of a current worker on your team, or tell me about a current, if you're interviewing for a current role, tell me about a current day in the life of this person. Also, as a follow-up, I would reach out to a person that has that role at that company on LinkedIn.
Mm.
And I would take it a step further and then reach out to them and say, tell me about your work-life balance. If you want to be really extra, then you get to really know the scoop.
That's great. You can just creep on LinkedIn. So another one that talks about our current situation, it says, how would you recommend handling the constant stress of our current environment, i.e. the possibility of layoffs, tense office environments, etc.?
Meditate. Literally meditate. Meditate has changed my life. I'm not even kidding. Like that meditation retreat I went to in December, I was not a believer at all. If you met me before December, I didn't have this room. This room did not exist before December. This room was a junk room, literally a junk room. And I went to this meditation retreat with my head down. I was like, this is so weird. I don't know anything about meditation. I don't know why I'm here. I don't believe in this. And then a 4-day retreat, I came back and I'm like, I'm going to make this a meditation room. I'm going to get some wallpaper. And just by breathing, and it sets your day so you can take action on things that if you react to something that is brought into your life that you normally would be like a reactor to something that would bring you immediate stress or anxiety or a reaction that's a negative one, it allows you to pause and breathe and be less reactive than you would be before. So I know this probably sounds hokey pokey to a lot of people on the phone because I was in your shoes before, but meditation has really helped me a lot. If you want me to answer it without meditation, constant stress, I would also say, constant stress, current environment. I would say another way to handle it is by continually networking. If you're consistently stressed with your current environment, possibility of layoff, be proactive then. Constantly network with people, constantly keep up your relationships, constantly, be engaging on LinkedIn and things like that.
Awesome. This is one that I think will be a really good question, seeing how you've had a history of working remote prior to everyone's social distancing. Do you have any advice on reconnecting with your company while we are all remote? I feel less connected than when I'm in the office.
Yeah. So are you familiar with video fatigue?
I mean, I feel like we all are at this point.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a big proponent of doing video every day with my team, but I also feel like some of them are burnt out on video. So I think that video is important. I do it every day, but I also feel like, at least for me, I call my team every day one-on-one to make sure they feel like they are supported and feel like they are part of the team, that they are connected to the team, to me, to the company. So I'd say daily, I don't want to call them check-ins, but daily connects would be good. So maybe proactive outreach to your team would be good on this one. And also, I know this sounds silly, but I do handwritten letters to my team, handwritten notes, not letters. They're not letters, but handwritten notes to my team in the mail. I sent them like $5 Starbucks gift cards, and that went a huge, long way. They loved it. So little things just to like keep the team whole and keep them, revived and keep them excited. And, there's just little things you can do to try to keep this team spirit alive.
Awesome. Well, thank you. We appreciate it. For the sake of time, I'll have that be our last question just so we can try to wrap up by 9:30. So Lindsey, again, thank you so much for joining us this morning. This was great. And again, when we originally planned this program, we had planned it to be in person. So I'm glad to see that it still translated really well, even virtually. So well done. We appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And to our members, thank you for joining us this morning. We're glad to know that you're still enjoying YPN programming during this time of social distancing. So we're glad these virtual events allow us the time to connect and give us some sense of normalcy while we're all together. As a reminder, please be sure to utilize our YPN directory. It's a great way to see who all is involved with YPN, and you can schedule times to connect outside of just YPN meetings. So I want to highlight some upcoming events that we have coming up. So one date that is not on here, but I did want everyone to mark their calendars for, is June 12th. So on June 12th, our YPN task force applications are going to go live. So our task forces are the people, our volunteers that work behind the scenes that make YPN possible. So we have a group of task force volunteers that put together our programs. So today's program was planned by our programs task force and led by Nicole Archibald. So thank you, Nicole, for getting this all put together for us. We also have ways to be involved in our marketing and communication through social media and our newsletters that go out, ways to be involved in membership, both in engagement and recruitment to get new people involved with YPN. And lastly, our community involvement task force. So typically when we're in person, we do our good strides that align with the programs and give back to local nonprofits, as well as our service day events. So lots of ways to be connected in YPN. If you're interested in applying for a task force, we have a YPN task force interest meeting on June 18th. It'll be from 4:30 to 5:30 p.m. So we try to put it not late into the evenings where people will still be able to log in, but also not too early to where you can hopefully wrap up your workday. That'll be done virtually. So all of our advisory board members will be on there, and we'll be able to talk to you about the current task forces and help answer any questions you have about task forces or about the application specifically. And then also our next YPN program is going to be on July 9th. So we are still determining if that program is going to be held in person or virtual, so stay tuned for that. But both of these events are already live on our website. So if you'd like to, you can go ahead and register. As a reminder, our website is RaleighYPN.org, and you can click the upcoming events tab and go ahead and register. So one final thank you from myself and the Raleigh Chamber. Lindsey, you were great. We appreciate it. And to all of our members, thank you for joining us this morning. So everybody have a great day.
Bye.